Hey, ESPN, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles, a former lobbyist that loves soccer and gets very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
And we're the hosts of The Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that covers politics, pop culture, and we're both big sports fans. I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, well, I'm named after Miles Davis, a legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
It's not a competition. So search The Daily Zeitgeist on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts, or give it away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the deck. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Give me your po-po.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Doe?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the code check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do?
We get the people what they want.
Let's do that right now. Shout out. We don't normally have guests on this show. I had to have some guests recently because you weren't here. But we are now joined by Zach Lowe.
Lowe.
What's up,
Lowe.
Lowe. ESPN, Zach Lowe. We first have to recognize the podfather, Bill Simmons, for just bringing us all together.
Yes, indeed.
In his absence. And second, we have to talk about the Pacers because they just signed Lance Stevenson. The Pacers just signed Lance Stevenson to a 3-year deal, team option for the third. $12 million. We'll start with you, Mr. Lowe. Why did they do this?
Well, they just waived Rodney Stuckey, so they had a need for like a guy who likes to dribble and can't shoot, I guess. But like, they love Lance, man. They just never stopped loving Lance. I don't think the market on Lance Stevenson was 3 years, $12 million, though. I think it was like, can you beat a 10-day contract?
Jalen, I know you know the legend. You're familiar with how the Pacers organization works. This doesn't make sense on paper, and I'm saying that as probably the biggest Lance Stevenson fan in media.
It does make sense in a lot of ways. It's one of those things as a player when you leave a team that 5 years ago, approximately, Lance Stevenson had the most triple-doubles in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. He was an all-star snub.
Not 5 years ago, 3 years ago.
It
seems like so far ago.
Correct. And just so everyone knows how the game has progressed, the number was 5. Russell Westbrook now has 30-plus. So Lance Stevenson was a really productive player at Indiana, went for the greener pastures with the Hornets, and that did not work out. And as a player, when you're not an all-star level player, a superstar level player, a marquee player, you're not dictating your situation. It's the other way around. And when you go somewhere and you don't fit, you get bounced around to a couple of teams. The team that saw you have success is sitting back and saying that you ready to come back home? How many years have we been talking about Lance need to go back to Indiana?
Since he left Indiana?
Correct. And so I understand what the Pacers are doing here by signing him to a couple of years because they're saying we're going to allow him to play ball. And in theory, that's going to become a bargain for us.
I have another theory, Jalen. The Pacers are currently in the 7th seed in the playoff standings in the East. That would put them against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lance won't be available to play because he's still working back from a little injury, but he'll be on the bench, and he'll just sit there and stare at LeBron James for the entire series long. It's just the Lance versus LeBron thing. Do you buy that theory?
I hate to come on the show and tell you that I don't buy your theory, but
what?
I
You don't think they signed Lance just to stare at LeBron James for the entire 4
disagree with that
games
theory. It's
of the first round?
No, I don't agree with that. Sorry. What? I think they got to worry about making the playoffs. Forget like matchups. They're like 2 games up in the loss column, and they lose every other game. And Paul George, after every loss, is basically like, "I hate my team."
Yes.
Can someone help me? I hate my team.
Jalen, you're somewhat of a Pacers insider. From the outside looking in, it looks like Paul George is basically like, "Yeah, I'm putting my house on the market. We're definitely moving. I'm leaving this team as soon as possible."
I don't get that. We just had Paul on Countdown. We did an interview with him, and I talked to him about playing in Indiana. He really stressed the fact that he loved being there. He embraces the fans that stood by him as a first-round pick, as somebody that went through a horrific leg injury, to now groomed him into being an all-star and an all-NBA performer. He wants to win there. But don't let that get confused with the fact that he really wants to win first. Mm-hmm. And so how this season ends, what happens in the offseason is truly going to determine how he looks toward the Indiana situation, because next year could be his final year with the team.
And that's like, you look at their roster and their cap situation, like, I don't see, if point A is 500 and point B is like trying to be a contender next year, that they can't cover that ground. I don't see how they do it.
No chance. And this, you say how this season ends will affect him. I don't understand how this season could end well. There's only a couple options. Number one, don't make the playoffs. Number two, lose in the first round. Number three, get swept in the first round. They're going to play the Celtics or the Cavs if they're in the playoffs. I don't see this ending well for the Pacers, Mr.
Well, not necessarily. You could get the 6th spot, and you could probably advance past the first round. So that's why, in theory, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I will say this: they could be a better playoff team than their record shows, because they're like 4-12 or something on back-to-backs, which are gone. And we saw last year, that dude was the best player in the Toronto series by far. He is a boss. He is really, really good. And like, they get hot for a couple games, they could give one of those non-Cleveland teams, like, that's a problem. They could be a problem.
Jalen, you've been saying all season long that your Pistons are going to make the Eastern Conference playoffs after a tough loss to the Miami Heat. It really doesn't look like that's going to happen, Mr. Rose. Are you ready to give up your playoff hopes for your Pistons?
They don't look like a team that's making the playoffs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rose. Thank you very much.
And it's about trends at this point of the season. And the problem in the Eastern Conference is there's only one team on a 5-game losing streak, and that's them. This is the wrong time for that to happen. Chicago's in front of them. They're playing without Dwayne Wade. I think the Miami Heat will be in. The Indiana Pacers have Paul George. The Bucks have the Greek Freak.
They'll be in.
So for the Pistons, it's a bad time overall to be struggling. They're 11-26 on the road. They're 2-8 their last 10 games. They're not trending in the right direction.
Let's talk about this, though. I don't want to hit you in the first segment with this kind of information, but let's really talk about the Pistons. Stan Van Gundy, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, are all three of them part of the Pistons organization when next season starts?
I say yes to Stan, no doubt. I say yes to Drummond, no doubt.
And?
You have to be able to see what's on the market for Reggie's contract to give a true answer to that question. Because when you pay somebody those level of dollars, you hope they perform at an all-star level, and he has not done that. They have not become a playoff team. You don't even need him to be an elite all-star guard. You need him to play like one on most nights. And since that isn't happening, he's dealt with some injuries. He will be a guy that's up for the market. That's how it works in the game. There's only a couple of guys that know in the offseason they ain't getting traded. And one of them clearly ain't named Reggie Jackson.
That's fair. No. Now, I know you're familiar with sort of how the front office works. You've got some insiders here and there. We won't make you reveal your sources. We don't do that here on Jalen Jacoby.
Okay, it's good policy.
But I do have a question. Are there some executives in Denver that are thinking, maybe we shouldn't have made that deal?
I actually don't think so. Because that situation, I think, look, they could be saying, like, maybe we shouldn't have, like, tossed in a first-round pick in addition to Nurkic. But I just don't know what else they were in a position where that situation had gotten bad with Nurkic because he was backing up Jokic. He was never going to start. He was unhappy. He was in Mike Malone's doghouse. And it was just, sometimes in the league, these situations, they just get to a point where there's no salvaging them. And I think that's where they got. I don't think they should have had to throw in a first round pick as like, can you do it? What do we need to do to make this trade happen? I called it overkill at the time. I think it was overkill.
Hindsight isn't going to be 20/20 for me in this situation. Here's why. When a player like Nurkic goes to Portland and is performing the way he's playing right now, when he's practicing with you every day, you see those flashes. So this is the difference between an organization saying, we're going to figure out a way to make Jokic, who's been terrific since the trade, work, and Nurkic work, not like the Denver Nuggets, who have to lose one to get one to play well for them. And also, as you mentioned, give up a first-round pick. So, yes, they're regretting it. And because of the move, they're not going to be in the playoffs, as you predicted, because of your guys up front nicknamed
the Birch Brothers.
They'll be on the outside looking in.
I think they will be, and I'm very sad about that. Yep. The Warriors have announced KD's feeling pretty good, and that he will likely be back for the final 3 games of the regular season. What does this mean for the Warriors, Jalen?
That they still have a great opportunity to win the championship. Without KD, you don't win the West. You definitely don't win the championship. With KD, especially the way the Cleveland Cavaliers have played defense here recently, they now become a team that, as we all knew at the beginning of the season, can legitimately win it this year if they're playing on at a high level.
You think no shot without KD?
No shot.
Three of the top 15 players in the NBA, not good enough. Just
no
not good
shot.
Enough.
Once you get
How'd
into
that happen?
Because a couple of years ago, their motto was strength in numbers. Because they have multiple players that could come in off the bench and be productive. Spates, Leandro Barbosa.
Livingston is
they still have Livingston, Iguodala,
the big
David
kid
West.
from Portland who got injured that they signed.
Ezeli.
And then you lose also Bogut and Barnes. So you replace them only with KD. And then let me see who else they added. Zaza? Huh? JaVale?
David West?
David West is not in his prime.
David West has been playing okay for them.
He has, but they were strength in numbers then. Now they're strength in all-stars.
I just think if you have 3 All-NBA players, 3 of the top 15 players, there's a lot of whining about how they're so short-handed, this and that. Like, everyone would kill to be as short-handed as the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if there's no shot. No shot.
I'll tell you why, sir. Up front, who's going to play quality minutes besides Draymond?
My man, JaVale
that's a question, but every team's got questions. You know?
Not like this. Who's going to play quality minutes besides Draymond up front?
You're trying to get through every
James
night.
Michael McAdoo,
Zaza,
JaVale,
and West. That is not strong enough to beat the Warriors.
KD plugs a lot of holes. You put KD in, he plugs a lot of offensive and defensive holes.
Yes,
he just plugs a lot of holes.
With him, they are the clear favorites.
So let's say with him, because he is going. I think he will be rested and ready, and I think that he's been ready to play. If he wanted to play, he could play tonight. I think he's going to be 100% for the playoffs. So that's a hypothetical we don't need to go down. But let's say he is 100%. In your opinion, we'll start with you, Zach. Who is the biggest threat to the Warriors in the West?
San Antonio. To me, it's still San Antonio. I think they're pretty confident against San Antonio because they just have such a more explosive gear than the Spurs have. They have a healthy respect for Houston because Houston's the one team that can say, hey, you want to hang 130 on us, we'll hang 130 on you and we'll make it a shootout. But to me, the Spurs are just such a well-oiled machine. They can beat them up on the boards. They have Kawhi. That, to me, is the most dangerous one.
Agreed. You went for pillar to post. The team that has the close your eyes, land the haymaker punch, that's the Houston Rockets because they can shoot the three. But the team that we've consistently have success, and they have one of the top 2 players, in my opinion, in the game, in Kawhi Leonard, they are the team still that can upend the apple cart and stop us from seeing the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors in the finals.
We all know that the Cleveland Cavaliers are eventually going to win the finals, but let's just talk about the road to that happening for a second. Right now, it doesn't look so great for the Cavs. Right now, it doesn't look so great for the Cavs. We're being bombarded with quotes about how they're not ready and they're not tough and it's all a problem, and then we're bombarded with stats about 29th in the league in defensive rating, and since this time, they've got this record. How serious is this concern for the Cavs, Zach?
A year ago, the Cavs came through New York, late March, and they looked miserable. They were bickering at each other.
Yep.
Their defense was bad. Everyone, Cavs, a lot of big problems with the Cavs.
LeBron said they're not ready for the playoffs.
And then, literally at the same time of the year, same stuff happening, and then it just ended up not mattering. This is a little more severe. Their defense never got this bad, but they have so much, but they're overflowing with benefit of the doubt. They're still such clear favorites, but it's a little worrisome, a little more worrisome than last year. But I'm not buying this. I'm not buying it again.
Here's what happens during the regular season: you build a roster, if you're fortunate to have one, around your mega superstar in LeBron James. So now you're trying to cover holes that he may be weak so that he can elevate to be his best on a nightly basis. They've covered that on their roster. They have 2 of everything. They're deeper than every team in the league, as we mentioned, like Noah's Ark, literally. So where are they weak during the regular season? Teams coming at you on a nightly basis because every night, the players that they play minutes besides LeBron that are in the league to play defense and give you hustle are Shumpert and Tristan. Everybody else is a specialist.
No one else you are asking to stop anybody.
So Kyrie's one of the best one-on-one players in the game, has the best handle in the game, but he doesn't necessarily guard his position.
J.R. Smith can play a little defense. He did last year, but he hasn't been around.
But he's in the league to knock down, catch and shoot threes.
And he's getting his body back together.
Yes.
So is Kevin Love. So is Kyle Korver's out. They're not close to being the team they need to be.
But they're clear cut the team to be in the Eastern Conference, and they will advance from that conference.
So I'll ask the same question. Who is the biggest threat to the Cavs in the East, in your opinion, Mr. Lowe?
I think qualitatively Toronto is the best team other than Cleveland. I think we'll see how the seedings shake out. If that's a 1-4 series, that's obviously bad for Toronto. They like to avoid Cleveland as long as possible. Sure. But if you stack up fully healthy Toronto, fully healthy Boston, fully healthy Washington, and again, fully healthy, we don't know. We don't know what Kyle Lowry is going to be like when the playoffs start.
No one's fully healthy in the playoffs.
Well, okay, is Kyle Lowry going to be ready to play at 85% of Kyle Lowry? We don't know. But top to bottom, I think with Ibaka and Tucker, that is a deep, versatile, can look a lot of different ways kind of team. They're the best one.
I have to see Lowry return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So until he comes back, I'm going to say Washington. Because they are a team just like Toronto has an all-star backcourt. Well, Wall and Beal, Wall was in it. Beal's playing like one. They force you to guard your position. I just alluded to this with Kyrie, for example. While he's going to be getting buckets on one end, he now can't hide on Beal, can't hide on Bogdanovich or Porter. He has to actually guard Wall. So Wall's going to be able to be effective, just like Lowry should be able to be effective. So their starting five is a nice closing lineup. When you look at Marcus Morris, Bogdanovich, and also the big fella Enes Kanter, who just left the club the other night allegedly with 3 women. Another subject for another day.
Or
Gortat. Yeah, Gortat. The Polish hammer, literally, I guess.
He walked out of the locker room last night in L.A. Almost a tux. It was like a sharp black suit, black tie. It looked like he was going to the Oscars.
So, Jalen, I asked this question yesterday. Is it better to leave the club with 3 women or to leave the club with 1 woman?
I love you. 1.
Thank you.
Everybody that's cheering for this.
Thank you.
Let me teach you guys something.
They all have different agendas.
No.
One's hungry.
No.
One wants
Hit
to go
the brakes.
home. One
No,
doesn't like you.
It's
just worried about logistics.
No.
Like, one wants to stop at the Chick-fil-A. One wants to stop at Taco Bell. It's just confusing.
Hit the brakes.
Okay, you can go now.
Hit him again. He's trying to have relations with 1. The other 2 are offensive linemen.
You're the best. So every once in a while we're prepping for the show, I write down a bunch of crazy predictions, and Jalen and now Zach will evaluate the feasibility of these predictions. So these are some predictions I have for the playoffs this year in the National Basketball Association. Kyle Lowry returns less than 100%, messes up the Raptors' mojo, and the Raps get swept by the Cavs in the second round. How feasible do you see that?
That's not feasible. They won't be getting swept. That's happened to them recently in the playoffs by Washington. I think that experience is what's allowed Toronto to grow. And they not only added productive players like Tucker and Ibaka, but they give you toughness and character with Corey Joseph, along with the all-star level players that we know that they have. They're not getting swept.
They're a hard out. They're a hard out, tough out. However, I don't think that's insane. Not 100%. That's easy. Like, he's not going to be
100%. There's no real timetable for his return. It's like a little weird, all this information about Lowry.
And if you told me 4-1, like, they beat him 4-2 last year, and they kind of, like, started trying in game 4 or 5 of that series.
He was healthy last year, and he was also running to the locker room in the middle of the game to, like, have anxiety.
DeMar DeRozan will put up 35 and get you at least 1 game.
Yeah, they're too good to get swept.
All right. Clippers beat the Jazz in round 1. Go up 2-1 on the Warriors, and then the entire Clippers starting 5 gets injured on the same play in Game 4. How feasible do you think that
That's
is?
totally on the table.
It's on the table,
It's
right?
all on the table.
Jalen?
That's a mockery of the game.
You don't think that all 5 of the Clippers could get injured in the same?
It's on the same play that is the tricky part. How can they all bump into each other?
I can see that happening. The floor spacing isn't great.
It might have to be like a DJ Alley-oop gone bad, where his limbs are all flailing out and he kicks everyone at the same time.
Here's another one. As they did last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers sweep their first 2 playoff series. Jalen Rose.
That won't happen this year. While I think they're a deeper team, we highlighted they're not a better defensive team. And in the playoffs, you have to be able to play multiple styles because you're going against the best teams in your conference. They will not sweep through the first and second round of the playoffs.
Agreed. We're agreeing on everything. Agreed. These the next three teams, or I was going to say the three teams behind them. The one team ahead of them and the two games behind them.
I don't think you're agreeing on everything. I thought you entertained the possibility of all 5 Clippers getting injured.
I did. I'll entertain that. I'll entertain that possibility.
It's not that clear. Next. Very simply, Thunder beat the Rockets in the first round. I could see this happening.
I can't see it happening because they don't have enough firepower. They don't have enough guys that can score 20 on a given night in the playoffs. We just saw the Houston Rockets play a nationally televised game against that team. Lou Williams, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon all had 20, while James Harden still got his typical numbers, and they were playing without Ryan Anderson.
The margin for error is so low for them, given how little shooting they have and how bad their offense is. It's okay. It's okay with Russ on the floor. It's just okay though. And Houston is you're gonna have 2 games where Houston just goes crazy, and I don't see it.
Okay. For the playoffs, it's for you, Jalen. James Harden brings back short shorts.
No such thing. He's been a guy that's played in the MVP level the last couple of years. He's not going to now jump into the playoffs and change what he does. That's like saying he's going to cut off his beard.
For the playoffs, James Harden cuts off his beard.
Won't take place.
You don't think so, Zach?
If he was going to do it, it would have been after last season. Symbolize a fresh start. No Dwight, turning my life around. So
no Kardashian.
If he didn't do it then, he's not going to do it.
Jalen, I'm going to get you with this one. For the playoffs, LeBron James shuts down Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson's podcast.
No, he won't.
What? I'm shocked.
Because they've come to the team not as young fellas that he's grooming. They came to the team as vets that already have their own ways that they're stuck in. They both have Arizona backgrounds. They're really good friends. They're fun-loving, and they bring that level of personality to the team. So because of that, they went on to win the championship that way. You now don't muzzle those players.
He nailed it, because that's one of their. This is real. This is not a joke. Like, one of the things they really brought to the team last year was like, particularly Channing Frye coming from Orlando, was like, why is everyone here so miserable? We're competing for the title. Like, this is fun. Let's be happy and have some fun. So I know they're not going to shut it down.
I think the 8th most important player on the Cavs last year during that championship run was Little Kev. The picture of the Tommy Bahama model that looked like Kevin Love. I'm not kidding. Like, that was seemed like something they all rallied around, like really helped. And they had like a 7-man rotation anyway.
Did they ever meet that model? I feel like I would have read that story if they met them.
Matthew Dellavedova had packed that exact shirt that he was modeling in his bag just in case they won the championship and partied in Vegas wearing that exact shirt.
Wow.
What? The Cavs were really prepared to win Game 7. Like, that's one thing that's very clear from their post-Game 7 performance is they were prepared to win Game 7.
I didn't know that about Delly's shirt. So they had the shirtless JR and then the very specific shirt on Delly. That's nice.
And LeBron, too. He had a specific shirt.
For the play-in.
For
coming
well.
back. Yeah,
they all packed. They had 2 bags. They're like, if we win, these bags. Next, Russell Westbrook misses Game 1 of the first round of the playoffs because he is stuck in his muse cage. Jalen.
What? I'm enjoying this segment. It's just that a lot of these things are so over the top that I'm disagreeing with that as well. He hasn't missed a game all season. What make us think he's going to miss the first game of the playoffs?
His muse cage is so dark, though. It's very dark inside of his muse cage. He goes in, gets disoriented, cannot get out of his muse cage. You don't think that's possible whatsoever?
No, sir.
Be hard for Russell Westbrook to be off the floor of the playoffs, but he might play with a broken leg if he could like limp.
True or false question, Jalen Rose? You were lying when you said you were enjoying this segment.
False.
Okay, I thought I was going to get you though with the double negative. I thought I was going to get you with the double negative there. Okay. Clippers beat the Jazz in the first round of the playoffs.
I'm taking the team that has home court advantage.
Really?
No question. If Utah has home court, that's who I'm going to pick. Same for the Clippers.
It looks like Utah will have home court.
Clips have the tiebreak.
The Clippers are currently down a game and a half.
And they're not playing. They're under 500 since starting 14-2. I think it's close.
They're not playing inspired basketball.
They are not playing inspired basketball. They don't seem like a happy team. However, they are a good. They've handled the Jazz the last few years. I think they should beat. I think they should win that series, even if they don't have home court. I think they should. If the Clippers can't beat the Jazz, and I love the Jazz, no disrespect for the Jazz. If the Jazz are like they're too good for us, then it's time to end the Clippers thing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have another prediction. Jalen Rose spends more time on his waves and hairline preparation than his analysis preparation for the finals.
Facts.
That will happen.
Well, because look at it like this. When you go get a haircut, that's 30 to 45 minutes each time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't spend that level of time going over the notes before I go on countdown.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair. The waves and the hairline have been looking great lately, Jalen.
Thank you, sir. I got work to do. I got to keep up with Reg.
When you are now the number one seed in waves on the production staff of Jalen and Jacoby. You have supplanted Reggie, our producer, as the king of waves in the Jalen and Jacoby staff.
You hear what he has to say.
Are there any more than 2 seeds? Is it just seed 1 and seed 2?
I'm seed. Everyone else is just basically tied for third.
Unseeded.
Yeah. That's kind of how it works.
It's a black thing.
Yeah. Very much so. If I wanted waves, I wouldn't even know where to start. We should do that as a bit for the show, where I go into a barbershop and say, give me waves.
Have to start wearing a do-rag and everything.
Yeah, just say, give me waves. Zach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Get low.
There it is. That's what I come for. That's what I come for.
Jalen. I would like to speak with Mr. Jalen Rose, senior statue analyst, the foremost voice when it comes to statue analysis. There has been a huge statue development today. A legendary European football player by the name of Cristiano Ronaldo of Portugal had an airport renamed using his name. And I know legacy is very important to you, Jalen. There's different levels to it. You know, you can get your jersey retired. You can get a statue. When you get an airport named in your name, that's another level. At the unveiling, they unveiled a bust of his head. What did you think about this statue?
It didn't capture him in the grill.
It did not capture him whatsoever. This is one of the most objectively handsome athletes I have ever seen in my life. And he looks like Sloth from the Goonies in the statue.
As someone that needed veneers, I pay attention to the grill immediately. So that's straight where I went for the mouth area.
Like the crooked mouth smile thing was just weird. The hair, he does have bad hair, but they could have done him more service with that hair. If you were Cristiano Ronaldo and you hadn't seen this statue previous to this ceremony, and they unveiled that right next to you, and you looked at it, would you just like swallow it and keep it moving? Or would you speak with someone immediately about the statue?
You keep it moving, but you speak to the people in your circle about it. Like, man, I wish they would have showed it to me first.
See, now I think you need statue approval before anything goes up.
That's what's now going to happen for him.
Statue approval is important. It's like any contract you sign, any honor you're going to get, just let me get statue approval beforehand. Worst statue: Hall of Fame mobile, Magic Johnson's, or Cristiano Ronaldo's?
Ronaldo's. Magic is full body. But his is only a bust.
He doesn't look like him, though. It just doesn't look like Magic.
And also,
you know the one I'm talking
Magic
about.
has one in college and in the league. So the answer is Ronaldo.
His statue here isn't bad. The college one could use a touch-up. Like at some point, he's just going to write a $50,000 check and be like, let's just touch this up a little bit, guys. There has never been a news headline better suited for this program than the following. Man walks kangaroo down Detroit Street on leash. We've both seen the video of a gentleman in Detroit, clearly in Detroit, walking a kangaroo on a leash down the street. What? I have an update, Mr. Rose. Turns out that this man is part of an exotic traveling zoo that he was putting on a display of exotic animals for some of the people there, and it just so happened to be captured on Snapchat. I have a lot of questions for you. But now that kangaroos have infiltrated our continent, are you willing to entertain the possibility of a kangaroo apocalypse?
I am not entertaining that. But what I will do is say this. For those families, for those people that can't afford to go to the zoo, he brought it to them. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple of ways I could look at this. I could look at it as though the animals were, quote unquote, in the wild. So therefore, is this some act that should not be taking place? Or am I going to only embrace it when I go to the circus or to the zoo? Mm-hmm. So when it's outside of those realms, we look at it and of course, we're on our heels when we see it, but it's weird. It's unique. It's something you don't see every day, but it doesn't seem that he was doing the animal any harm.
No. So here's my one question, though. He didn't seem to have full control over the kangaroo.
Well, when you go to the zoo, they don't either.
It just kind of seemed like he was holding it up in his arms at one point, and the kangaroo got loose. He was running. You know when you see somebody like walking a dog and the dog's kind of walking them? He didn't seem to have that kangaroo under control, which is just another indication that the impending kangaroo apocalypse is upon us.
I have no problem with the street zoo.
Good. Have you ever been to Augusta, Georgia?
I have.
You have? Have you ever been to the Masters?
No, I have not.
Well, perhaps this will change your mind. Snoop Dogg is hosting the Augusta Jam during the Masters. Snoop Dogg hosting a party during the Masters. Are you interested in attending?
Anything Snoop doing, I'm interested in attending because that's family. I will say that first and foremost. What up, though, Big Deal Double G? We need to get him on the program. I talked to him about it as well. With that being said, here's what this sounds like to me.
Tanqueray heavily involved.
No, actually.
No, as a sponsor, I mean.
Okay. Here's how these conversations go. You have a bunch of individuals, I guess, to fit the visual that you have for Augusta for the last 60-plus years.
White people.
All in a room saying, how can we be cool by writing a check?
Snoop Dogg.
And so you get on the phone with his representative, and he knows what you're doing, and you offer him so much money, he's like, all right, I get on a plane.
Of course he gets it. No. First it's like, we'll buy you first class tickets. No. I need a plane.
Yes. And so I see this more as an appearance for Snoop. Don't be surprised if he gets on the wheels of steel. He likes to DJ a little bit, too.
Oh. Well, please, if anyone attends Snoop Dogg's Augusta Jam, send our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed an update, because I'm very curious as to what happens on the other side of that velvet rope.
Do you feel that the individuals that are hosting Snoop realize that there will be a medicinal cloud consistently around his presence?
This tournament is celebrated for its horticulture, which is another fancy way of saying plants. So something tells me that Snoop will have his own spin on the plant life native to Augusta, Georgia. Raekwon the Chef has a new album out.
I need to hear that.
I listened to it. It's just classic Raekwon.
Yes!
It sounds like you time traveled 20 years ago. Like the beats sound like RZA beats. The flows sound like Raekwon flows. Like it's not like he's trying to adjust to the times.
This makes me so happy.
It is very much a classic on there? Raekwon sound. I believe so.
Yes. I need to hear that. Big shout.
And now he's got some hot sports takes. He wants Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds kept out of the Hall of Fame. Here's the thing. Anytime Raekwon's in it, we're talking about it.
No doubt.
I completely disagree with Raekwon. Should I, A, change my stance to fit Raekwon's because he's Raekwon, or B, follow my heart?
I think you should follow your heart, but I have something unique for this topic. I do, as a former athlete, believe that players that cheated should be kept out of the Hall of Fame. Now, what makes it unique for Barry Bonds and Clemens, which is why I think they should also get in, because their careers were so long, I think that they found ways to play themselves in without those years. What? Like Barry Bonds is a player I remember watching that had so many intentional walks in a season because they knew the kind of threat that he was at the plate versus now the intentional walks you see from the best players. He was a 30 for 30, 40 for 40 type of player way before his helmet size got bigger, way before he became a bodybuilder in theory playing baseball. So I think he and Clemens, with their longevity, still deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Very quick question. Jay Cutler, naked on vacation on Instagram. Soft move or boss move?
Boss move. Who took the picture?
Kristen Cavallari, his wife. Jalen Rose.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't help but notice that I've done a couple shows without you in the past few days. What were you doing?
I'm not going to discuss what I've been doing. I know that you, as well as Rachel Nichols, talked at length about it. I love her, Marcellus, Ramona, you, so many people that are not only my colleagues here, but friends I have in and around the industry. Kobe Bryant. All have been put on wax so far. A couple of more people that I don't want to jinx by saying their name until we actually film them. I'm not going to say why, because anytime you shoot a pilot, there's a chance that it may get picked up and the world sees it, and there may be a chance that no one ever sees it. So it's my job not to speak it into existence, work as hard as I can, try to inherit a new craft, consume myself, and see what happens at that point.
Well, I wish you the best. You did a great job discussing something that you weren't discussing.
Yep.
A truck driver stole $19,000 worth of New Balance sneakers.
Good Lord, that's a lot of money.
Size 14.5 or 15, holla at your boy. I need somebody to steal a Puma truck. I need some 15s. I've been wearing the same Pumas for the last year and a half.
Your Pumas do look a little dirty today. I noticed
Man.
that. Your Pumas have a white swoosh on them today.
Trying.
They look a little dirty. You need the toothbrush?
I'm trying.
You need to borrow an old toothbrush or something?
Man, all I want to rock besides Adidas is Pumas. Give me all Adidas, all Pumas. I'm happy. In particular, the Clydes, leather and or suede.
I don't think they had your size. But here's what happened. This dude stole a pallet full of sneakers. You can't use it if you look at your phone. This dude stole a pallet full of sneakers from his truck. He was the truck driver. What? Under questioning, he admitted that he did it, and he said that he was to be paid $250. Why would you steal $19,000 worth of merchandise for $250, Mr. Rose?
Because you're not going to say the exact figure you were going to get paid, because you don't want to say the person's name who was going to pay you for those shoes.
That's a great point. There's a new study about spiders that has been released. Are you scared of spiders?
I am not scared of spiders, but I have a newfound respect for them based on the film that we watched on our show one day.
Oh, when we saw a spider beat up a snake? I respect the spiders, but the spiders are kind of hot right now because of this study. This study revealed that the spiders consume enough prey in this world over the course of a year that they could, in a year, eat every single human on the planet.
What?
So essentially, the amount of weight of mass that are humans on the planet is how much spiders eat in a year. But let me just tell you something. I'm not really worried about spiders. Like, that fact is like, oh, do you think spiders are going to take over the world? No, we're not on the menu. Spiders don't eat people. I'm sure whales consume more than the amount of humans on the planet, but they're not going to eat us. Do you think people are overreacting to the impending spider apocalypse?
I don't think people are reacting at all, because except people like you to read the entire internet every single day, most people don't know that this is taking place.
That's an interesting take. That's why you come to Jalen Jacoby. You learn things about spiders. Elon Musk is a forward thinker. He's he owns Tesla. And he's SpaceX. He's going to fly people to the moon, around the moon, not to the moon. Big difference. And he's just always sort of thinking about what's next with our species. He is now saying that he wants to start a process where we implant electrodes into our brain to properly merge the way we think with artificial intelligence.
I'm not putting anything in my brain, dude. I ain't rolling.
Okay. So let me just go with me on this one.
I'll go. You know what? We'll go together, but I'll watch. once we get there.
I'm not getting this procedure done, but can you at least admit there's some things that are inevitable? Inevitably, the Washington football team will change their name, right? Inevitably, it's just going to happen in time. Do you feel that the merging of organic brain matter and sort of mechanics, electrics, artificial intelligence, computers are eventually going to merge at some point in our species? Probably not in our lifetime, but at some point.
At some point, yes. But not in the next 50 years.
You don't think so?
No.
Can I ask you like a real serious question?
Sure.
Why did the Pacers sign Lance Stevenson to 3 years, $12 million?
The third year isn't guaranteed. Mm-hmm. This year's almost over. Mm-hmm. So in theory, it's a 1-year contract. Oh,
okay. I always assumed that they would start next year or something. So that's still a lot of money to give Lance Stevenson for 1 year. It's probably a $6 million 1-year deal, basically.
Or $6 million 2 years, and then the third year is for $6.
Do you think that Larry was doing Lance a favor?
If he was out of the league, any team that chose to sign him, that general manager, that president, that coach, that owner, whoever decided to say, hey, why don't you sign Lance Stevenson to a contract to play basketball? Yes, was doing that individual a favor.
So a lot of people are talking about the fact that Kawhi Leonard has played in 465 games and he has received 1 technical foul. Also,
why did he get the tech?
He was a rookie. It was a playoff game. I didn't review the footage. Mike Conley has played in 699 games and has never had a technical foul. Does that surprise you?
It does not surprise me. There's a level of discipline that I admire that players have out there dealing with the ebbs and flows of a game, good and bad calls. Referees make mistakes. Players commit errors. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of pressure. So for those guys to be able to contain that and still be productive players is really impressive.
How many technicals do you think you got in your career?
Too many, especially when they started to get expensive. They used to be like a G. Then there's like 1,500. They got like 2,500. I'm like, I'm good.
Every single.
You're right. You're right.
I'm sorry. I didn't even know this. Every technical you have to pay a fee?
Yes, and they take it out your check like Uncle Sam.
So every single technical foul is money out of your pocket.
That's what people underestimate when individuals get it.
I had no idea. I knew when you get suspended, you don't get the game check.
This is why NBA, this is going to eventually happen. You know how you just said that there are things that are going to happen, like with the Washington football team changing their name?
And we're going to turn into robots.
This is something that the NBA should do. There are 30 teams that play in cities that they claim and call home. The number of technical fouls that coaches and players get for that squad during that season, at the end of the year, there should be a check presentation that gives back to that community that supported that team the entire year. Yep. Until that happens, I'm going to continue to wonder, where does all the tech money go?
Why does it go back to the community? One big pile that in theory goes out through NBA cares and things like that. But it would be nice if you saw a direct correlation between someone like Boogie Cousins and the city of Sacramento.
I thought about this when a team that I loved, the Detroit Pistons, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, those were a feisty group of individuals that got multiple texts. And it wasn't like the Clippers where it was like emotional. They were like angry because that was the personality of that team.
Would Rasheed have more schools in Detroit than you do?
Correct. And I always sat back and said, man, if they get 100 texts, imagine if that $200,000+ was now donated back to the city of Detroit.
This is something that I believe will happen over time. And you know who's not going to get credit for it? Jalen Rose. But those that listen to this podcast will know. Yep. A lot of topics get discussed in depth all over sports radio shows and television shows, and ink gets spilled in columns about some topics that really don't deserve to be spoken about. So I'm going to bring up a topic that's buzzing around in the world of sports, and you're going to tell me if you want to hit the brakes and discuss it or just keep it moving. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
Sean Payton hasn't slammed the door on adding Johnny Manziel to the Saints.
Keep it moving.
Roger Goodell doesn't like gambling, but can live with Las Vegas having a football team.
Keep it moving. Team's going to Vegas regardless.
The Patriots join the Dolphins and have removed Joe Mixon from the draft board.
Hit the brakes. This is one of those things about imagery that, as a team, on one hand, I applaud someone I consider a friend, the owner of the Dolphins, Stephen Ross, as well as Mr. Robert Kraft of the Patriots, for taking this stance. The problem, however, overall, that the league's going to have to deal with as it relates to the other 30 teams is we're going to highlight the teams that take them off the board when the reality is you only need one team to want you.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's a talented performer who hasn't entered the league and clearly hasn't shown his NFL potential he's shown his NFL potential in college, hasn't performed yet on the field in the league, unlike Ray Rice, who I think would have gotten a second chance with the video if he was in his prime, since he can be a productive football player in a lot of people's opinions, mine as well, just like we saw last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, he will find a home in the NFL.
He will.
Regardless of whether they invite him to the combine or not.
Michelle Kwan's husband has filed for divorce.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Adam Gase wants Ryan Tannehill
Keep
to
it
be
moving.
more aggressive.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
A new study from the Oregon State University is saying they've revealed that cats care more about humans than food and are as smart as dogs.
I already knew that. Keep it moving.
You knew that cats were smarter than dogs?
I did.
Because they can use the bathroom? In the bathroom?
No, they're just more disciplined.
Really?
So for the people, here's how you know the difference. The time to invest, here's a perfect analogy for everybody to follow.
Okay.
Think about the time that you invest to teach your dog how, when, and where to use the bathroom.
Years.
Versus
Never really sits.
a cat.
It's just innate. Okay.
And by the way, I don't mean to put, this out in the atmosphere, but I applaud everybody to pick up after their animals because I wouldn't be doing that.
I'm not doing that either. Do you know what I had to do? I had to pick up after. So here's one thing. One of my big, foundational principles is just do unto others as you would want done to you, right? I just treat other people the way you want to be treated. That's all. However, I came down in front of my garage, and do you know what was there? Huge dog dookie. What? I got so mad.
I would have too.
I got so mad. I had to pick it up myself so my kids don't step in it and one of my babies eats it or whatever. And I was just like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick this up. And I picked it up and I threw it away. And I said to myself, if I had a dog, I would be that dude that leaves the big dookie outside of someone else. So now I'm faced with this problem, Jalen. One thing I feel, I'm not picking up after my dog. Another thing I feel, you should treat others the way you want to be treated. Does that make you reconsider your stance of picking up after a dog?
It doesn't. This is the reason I don't currently own a dog.
Okay. Let's keep it moving. Jerry Jones says the Ezekiel Elliott parade incident was unfortunate and not good.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
The thing I want to say about that situation is this. If you're with a woman that may or may not respect herself and doesn't mind flashing the crowd, it's up to her to pull out her boobs, not you.
It's fair. Also, another thing, unfortunate, Mr. Jones. Unfortunate is not the right word there. Unfortunate seems like, it didn't work out for us. The weather was bad. Like something, it's like that's not unfortunate. Let's move on. Bill O'Brien says the Texans have discussed Colin Kaepernick. He's a good football player.
Hit the brakes. For Colin to be a potential starter, I'm throwing out the Houston Texans. He won't go to the Jets because the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, not only has a close relationship with our president, but they plan on doing some sort of ceremony together during this year. So that takes that team out of the mix. As a backup, don't underestimate the Baltimore Ravens. You heard it on Wax.
Next. A man and woman in Tennessee were arrested last week after they attempted to sell their 5-month infant on Craigslist.
What?
I don't want to give credence to this story. I feel bad for the infant. Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Sad.
Paul George criticized his teammates' pride after the loss.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it
Newsflash. Everybody that's not the Golden State Warriors, they're going to have ebbs and flows during the season, including the Cavs.
And the Pistons. The Pistons have lost 5 straight games.
I'm going to the final game of the season. Hopefully that's for a playoff spot.
Let's keep it moving.
you know, we keep it moving.
Joakim Noah has been cleared by a doctor, so he's now going to begin serving his suspension.
Hit the brakes.
We got to talk about this one.
Agreed. So I can't be somebody that cheers Ryan Braun, but then I deny the opportunity for Joakim Noah to go through the exact same thing. And that's, in theory, you get caught cheating and you get punished. Once you are punished for something, I am not the person to continue to judge you by your worst moment or your worst day. Here's what I will say. Had this suspension not taken place, he would not have become eligible to perform this season. Since, however, he needs to start the clock on his 20-game suspension, this is the only reason why they're activating him now. So that's less games that he will have to miss next year because they did sign him to a 4-year contract, and this is only the first year of it.
Which is depressing in its own right. But one thing I want to say about this is whenever this happens, we don't know the details, right? We literally do not know the details of how this, how he tested positive. I could see it being as innocent as it was an over-the-counter substance, so you could just buy it at GNC or wherever, and he just wasn't aware that what he was taking was on the ban list, and it was a mistake. Like a legitimate, like, I didn't know I was doing something wrong. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, I'm aging, I'm not performing where I should be, I'm injured, I need to do every single thing I can to get back from injury. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to call the doctors that I know do things that are against the rules, and I'm just going to throw as much money at this problem as possible. And you know what? If I get caught, too bad, but I probably won't get caught. Where do you think this lies on that spectrum?
The latter. This sounds like a player that can't live up to the pressures in New York City of a 4-year, $70 million contract in a homecoming where the only person that felt like that was a responsible deal to sign were the people that decided to give it to him. Mm-hmm. So there is a level of pressure wanting to play at a level that he was able to perform at in Chicago, where he was getting triple-doubles certain nights. He was amongst the Defensive Player of the Year candidates, winning the award one time. So I see it more as what you just said, a player's pressures to try to do anything he can to be productive.
It's too bad.
And healthy.
Finally, Vince Scully says he's not interested in watching opening day.
He's retired.
Good for him. Yep. If you dial 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. We have people that screen these voicemails, pick particular voicemails, and plays them on the show, just like this one.
Hey guys, Lindsay calling from Los Angeles. So I have a question. I just left downtown LA where parking sucks. And there's this guy who I think just left a parking spot and was trying to, like, make a little side cash by, you know, telling people, hey, like, come park here. Is it bad that I park there? Even though it's, like, a metered spot, like, it should be free for anyone to park there. But I parked there knowing that I had no cash and that he was looking for cash. Let me know what you think. Feel kind of bad about it. Love the pod. Thanks. Bye.
Very specific question from Lindsay. However, she's come to the right place.
She has.
There is no one that spends more time in downtown Los Angeles than Jalen Jacoby.
Yes.
I know every corner of downtown Los Angeles like the back of my hand. However, that's why I ride my bike, Lindsay. I don't have these problems. But it sounds like she is describing a side hustle from someone pulled out of a metered parking spot and then tried to wave her into it and charge her for it. Is that what happened?
Big shout, Lindsay. Thank you for the call and the voicemail. This is one of those situations that reminded me of when I went to Nike camp. Kid from the northwest side of Detroit. We're in Trenton, New Jersey, staying on campus. And, of course, I end up in Manhattan.
How'd you do that?
And all of a sudden, I'm walking down the street, and the guys are playing three-card Monte.
Oh, no, you didn't. Oh,
and
no,
I
you
think
did not.
I'm the guy.
Oh, no, you did not.
With my couple of $100 in my pocket.
Oh, Jalen Rose.
That I'm going to find a way to beat the system.
Jalen Rose.
So that's what this reminded me of. That person had zero right to charge you for the spot that he does not own. That is public property. I understand where you are coming from, that you didn't want to get into an altercation with that individual because they were standing in the way, or you didn't want to feel like you had to threaten to hit them with your car or something like that. It's just an unfortunate spot sounding like of a gentleman taking advantage of a lady.
Mm-hmm. They hit you with the double or nothing. So you lost once. It was just like $5. And then it was double or nothing. And next thing you know, it's 10. And you're not really exchanging any money. You owe it to him or whatever. And then it turned into 20, and then 40, then to 80 really quick.
Absolutely. And the people that are around playing, you don't realize that they're all in it together.
What, Jalen? You mean the people that you just watch win $200, they hand the money, and then they just walk away happy, and then it's your turn to step up? You don't think you mean they're in cahoots?
What? Well, you know that as an adult. You didn't.
Yes.
I didn't know that as a high school senior.
Here's another thing that you learn. If you win, which never happens, and you walk away with the money, you're going to get robbed.
They'll rob you.
When they turn around the corner.
Yeah, it's going to rob you.
Don't play three-card Monte if you're in Manhattan. I haven't seen it in literally 15 years, though. I have not seen that hustle in years and years and years.
You like that I brought that up, huh?
Of course I do. Thanks for the call, Lindsay. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Hey, this is Dino from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been listening to you guys ever since, 5-6 years ago. So I have a more personal question to ask. My sister in middle school has been bullied by two girls. Her counselor doesn't believe them, and the counselor's actually friends with those two girls that are bullying her. Given that you guys know these details now, if you were my sister and they were pushing you around in high school, how would you respond to these girls, or how would you resolve the problem? Thanks. Keep getting in checks.
Interesting conundrum from Theo there. It came to the right place, though. Whenever you have problems with your little sister getting bullied in school, you say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call into Jalen Jacoby and see what they think. I think that he's looking for us to say, oh, you need to teach her just to punch him in the face next time she gets bothered. But you know what? That's not where I'm going with this. But you know what she needs to do? Talk to a different counselor. Go to the authorities. Let the school faculty know.
Yep. The one thing that we all have to deal with is doubters, naysayers, critics, and people that want to judge us by our weaknesses. Regardless of your age, people that aren't rooting for you, all they do is talk to you about bad decisions you made or what makes you imperfect. We all, in one way, shape, or form, have to deal with this. So for me, this is a lesson in self-esteem. It's a lesson in anti-bullying. And if those people don't like you or appreciate you for who you are, don't deal with them in any way, shape, or form. If you're not getting the support on the school level that you deserve, then go to the authorities.
Thanks so much for the call, Leo. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What up, Joe? This is Don from L.A. Quick question. I was watching some TV over the weekend and I saw the new Honda van has a built-in vacuum cleaner in it. And Jacoby, is a built-in vacuum cleaner in your minivan a boss move or soft move? Thanks, guys. Keep getting them checks.
That's very nice.
Of course. That is a boss move.
Yes.
I mean, he's talking about the Odyssey. I test drove the Odyssey. I'm familiar with the Odyssey's features. The Odyssey is what is known as the class of the minivan market. As a proud town and country driver, hoping to flip that into a Pacifica eventually. I recognize the Odyssey's superiority, but there is something to be said for price. I'm sure it's nice to have a vacuum in your minivan, but you know what? It's also nice to have a couple extra $100 in your pocket at the end of the month. I also have an outlet, so I can just take my vacuum, bring it to my garage, plug it in, and I've got my vacuum in my minivan, and $200 to spend on other things. Shout to you, Don, and shout to your Odyssey. Shout to Chrysler. Where's my Pacifica at? Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Hi. I met Jalen Rose at the hospital, and I don't know why he was there. Please give me an answer. Thank you.
Strange question, Jalen.
Met Jalen at the hospital and don't know why he was there. The problem is I'm 44 years old, and I've been to the hospital multiple times in my life.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm assuming it was recently? What was the most recent hospital visit?
I've been there for the birth of my kids. I've been there when I had a shoulder injury. I've been there when I had a knee injury. I've gone when I had checkups. I've gone to visit people.
Have you ever gone as a player and walked around like the children's part and made people happy?
I've done that as well. So I don't know where this is coming from. It hasn't been recently.
He didn't provide a lot of details.
Well, here's the thing.
The time window, the city would have been helpful.
Well, here's what I will say. I'm not proud to say it hasn't been recently because I need to frequently start to get checkups. In the last few years, I have not.
We've been discussing that off wax for a while.
So it hasn't been in a few years.
You think you're grown, you don't have to do this, but when you are grown, you have to go to the doctor just for no reason.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks so much for the call. Obviously, Jalen's hiding some sort of surgery. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Yo, Jalen Jacoby. This is the Chi-Town gent. That dude named Jay. I'm gonna ask my questions how modern rappers rap today. Yeah. Jacoby, did you enjoy your marathon? Did you like it? Was it fun? Jalen, I feel you was underrated. Yeah, hi. You was a good scorer and playmaker. Hi, represent. 773-708.
That's one of my favorite calls we've ever gotten. Because he was doing the ad-libs while he was doing the lines, all at the same pass, which is hard to do. I believe his question for me was, did you enjoy the marathon? No. But I'm really glad I did it.
JRLA is too.
His didn't have a question for you, but he did say you were underrated, which I fully support. I fully support that. I know you're not going to say it, but just go to basketballreference.com and search Jalen Rose and look at the numbers. And it's a long table too. You got to scroll down to get the entire career in there. And there were very, very small amount of years in which you were not a very productive NBA basketball player.
Thank you.
Playing a lot of minutes too, which is a big number that people don't pay attention to. A lot of minutes.
And for our caller, we appreciate you, Chi-Town gent. I embrace lyrics, so whether it's the guys that's been doing it for decades like M&J, current MCs that keep me going, Drake.
Your favorite type of rappers
Pusha T, Kendrick, J. Cole, and obviously my Detroit homies, Royce and Big Sean.
One thing that all of the rappers that you love have in common is what?
Bars!
Right now, we're going to open up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, take questions from you, our listeners, because we have a simple motto. First question is from Josh. Jalen, Josh says, how do you feel about Kobe saying the last time he hooped was when he dropped 60 points?
Mamba out. Drop the mic. You can't be a player. It will never happen again. To make as many all-star appearances, win as many championships, to have that level of success, to score 81 points in 2006, and then score 60 points in your final game in 2016, there's no more basketball to be played other than with the kids.
You know he has a hoop at his house. Don't you think he wakes up in the morning, gets the girls to school, comes back, has nothing to do that day, and says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend 40 minutes just putting some jump shots
Nope. I've got a chance to spend some quality time with him here recently, and he's embracing retirement like you hope all athletes and individuals do, period. He was idling down as his career started to wane once he had a couple of injuries, in particular the Achilles, that made him start to think about the end. So therefore, he started to think about what's next. And being passionate about what's next isn't still trying to show that you got game in basketball. It's the other things that interest him, like investments, like writing, like doing short documentaries and things of that nature. So I appreciate the fact that that's his focus, not how many jump shots he can make in the backyard.
Off wax on NBA Countdown. You're watching the games with Kobe. Did you ever just say, like, Kobe, that Muse Cage piece was a little weird?
Well, he didn't watch the game. He left after we did the show.
Oh, of course he did. So you didn't get the opportunity. Did you say it to your co-hosts after he left?
I did not. It reminded me of a basketball version of Sesame Street.
It did feel. Do you know what? It harkened me back to the old days of like This Week in Baseball. You know, those like Saturday mornings, kind of like kids sports shows before the big games. Mm-hmm. I used to love those shows. Next, Rishi has a question. On a scale of 1 to lobster minivan statue, how excited are you about Lance coming back to the Pacers? I think that's for you.
I'm excited that he played himself in and out of the league. Mm-hmm. Now he's gone back to the team that believed in him from the beginning, drafted him, dealt with his warts right after the draft, found a way to make him a rotation player, a productive player, the kind of player that garnered a contract from another team, then he left. The person that believed in him is still in tow. That's Larry Bird. So if he's going to be a player that reaches whatever potential he has, I think it's going to be with that team.
He was not good for the Hornets. He was not good for the Clippers. He was okay for the Grizzlies in spots. He was pretty good for the Pelicans, and then he got hurt. He was pretty good for the Timberwolves, and then he got hurt. Look, I do not think that it is over for Lance Stevenson if he stays healthy.
And you're the foremost authority on all things Lance.
Kyle has a question. Who's funnier, fake, scripted Jacoby or real Pop the Trunk Jacoby?
Real Pop the Trunk Jacoby. Can't duplicate an original.
I have a question. I'm going to tell you ahead of time.
And I got to talk to everybody who's not familiar with how characterizations work. There is no fake Jacoby.
It's not fake Jacoby. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. The next question has the word LeVar Ball in it. Jalen, could you beat LeVar Ball in a one-on-one? Can I answer this? It will never happen. LeVar Ball's never coming on the show.
No.
He's never coming on the show.
That's not true.
He's not coming on the show, Jalen.
That's not true.
Jalen.
I got a chance to see him. He will come on the show.
I don't want him to come on the show.
Well, that's something different.
He's just going to sit there and yell the whole time and push his agenda, not answer any questions. We've already got that going on. I apologize to our audience for that joke. Here's a question from Francis. Is it still okay to laugh about the Manti Te'o scandal from a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know my thing. Oh, you know my thing is you can make fun of people for decisions they make. You can't make fun of people for things they can't control. And you can be mean if you're funny. And that was funny.
He took too long to own it. That's a mistake that public figures always make. Whether something happens to you that's true or false, good or bad, you have to own it immediately. Allowing it to snowball and foster just gives it more energy.
There's a few things about this. Number one, shout out to the people at Deadspin that did the investigation on it, that noticed, oh, hey, man, I don't care who Manti Te'o's girlfriend is when he's a linebacker in Notre Dame. I just don't care. It's not even on my radar as a thing that exists. It's just not, I know he's a great linebacker, he's a pro prospect, but I'm not going to go online and find out who his girlfriend is and then do reverse Google image searches, find out that it's not actually them. So, shout out to the people that actually uncovered that. But, if you are him, like you said, he needs to just own it, make a funny joke about it, and then do some media, go to ESPN and say, look, this is a real thing, it's a danger, and this is how it happened, and this is weird. But yes, you can definitely make fun of that. Do you ever hear Manti Te'o's name come up and not think about that?
No.
I've never, every time he makes a tackle, anytime he makes an interception, anytime we've got some update on his latest injury, it's all I think about with him.
You want to question somebody's judgment who falls in love with somebody that they've never met. And with the level of technology, you haven't even FaceTime with her before?
What? There's so many follow-up questions.
Correct.
So many. You never talked to one of her friends. You don't know where she lives. It's been months and months and months, and not once did you just push the FaceTime button by accident. You FaceTime me 100 times, but by accident every single time. It's just weird. Has anyone ever attempted to catfish you?
No.
So no one on Twitter, you never see just someone being hey, it's just never happened.
No.
Huh. Reggie doesn't believe you.
Nope. Has it happened to you before, Reg?
Yep.
It's never happened to me. But I'm not
really curious to talk to Reggie about this after the show.
Well, I'm not online trying to date strangers. So that's why it's never happened to me.
It's a great point. This is from Trent. Did you guys know that Samsung Mobile is using your theme song in their new ad?
What? I did. I know. And it's the OJ's record.
We didn't like we weren't in the booth like, hey, let's come up with a catchy tune for the show.
It's something that I sing frequently because the EPMD version is playing in my head. Spent so much time and years with those guys. But I do believe that commercial, as well as the E40 Yep commercial that I saw, maybe we had some sort of influence.
Maybe. Yep. You know, I like to think so, but who knows? But it is hard to claim someone else's song as your song. You know, it's like the OJ's made the song.
There's something about popularizing something for current consumption. It clearly was a hit way before I even started singing it.
But I do like that when people hear the Samsung commercial, they think about us. Do you know how many millions of dollars that Samsung paid to be associated with that song? We get all that for free. Shout out to Samsung. But you know what? Cricket Wireless all day.
Yes, indeed. We're the Crickets.
We're the Crickets. We got Crickets.
Yes,
we got Crickets.
Who
on
we
crickets
love?
on Crickets.
Cricket. I need more crickets.
I don't even kill crickets anymore when they're in my house. There could be a cricket in my bedroom just making this sound.
the rest of the show.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even going to kill this cricket. I'm going to ask this cricket if it's hungry, break up some crackers and leave it in front of the cricket, put some peanut butter on the crackers, let the cricket have a nice snack, and then I'm going to trap the cricket and just release it back to the wild.
No question. You say anything to me about phone service coverage or whatever, it's like muscle memory. All I got to do is say cricket.
Just cricket.
Cricket, everything.
Day. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they sponsored this show. They just have a great product.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? They have an excellent product.
They're funny.
Oh, wait. It has everything to do with the fact that they sponsored
No,
the
it
show.
doesn't. Not for me.
That's right. Thanks to Zach Lowe for joining us.
Hello.
Thanks to you for listening on ESPN Radio, for watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News, and subscribing to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
We give the people what they need. We give the people what they need.
Shout out.
Special announcement. We are having a Jalen and Jacoby live podcast recording, and we want you to join us. It is going to be on April 20th at the Village Recorder in Los Angeles. So if you're in LA or you're planning a trip, get these tickets through SeatGeek. SeatGeek.com, download the app, put it on your phone. If you already have it on your phone, just search Jalen and Jacoby. Buy tickets. They're exclusively available through SeatGeek starting tomorrow, Thursday, March 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So at 4 p.m. Eastern, go to SeatGeek, search Jalen and Jacoby, and you can buy a ticket to join us at the Village Recorder in Los Angeles on April 20th. There's going to be some swag to give away. We're going to hang out with you guys. We're going to record a podcast, have a couple drinks, eat some food. It's going to be a great time, and I can't believe they scheduled this for 4/20. April 20th, 8 p.m., go to SeatGeek, search Jalen and Jacoby, get yourself a ticket.
Shout out